This is the M1 bayonet for the M1 Garand with the scabbard. Originally it was called model of 1905, and the bayonet was made for the 1903 Springfield rifle. The designation changed in 1917 to the model 1905, then changed again in 1925 to the M1905. This bayonet also fits the M1 Garand. Its overall length was 20 inches, and it had a 16-inch blade and a 4-inch handle, and that was either wood or plastic. Then in 1943, they changed the bayonet size and designation to the M1 bayonet. It had an overall length of 14 inches. It had a 10-inch blade with the same 4-inch handle. The grips were made of black or dark red plastic. This bayonet is the M1 bayonet originally made with the 10-inch blade, not the M1905s shortened from the 16-inch to the 10-inch. There were originally 6 makers for the M1905 bayonets. WT standing for Wild, Drop Forge, and Tool, and they were out of the Kansas City, Missouri area where I'm from. Because of the control issues and problems meeting delivery, they were dropped from the program. But on a side note, the company was started by 2 brothers, Otto, an engineer, and Paul, a brother, along with Henry Wild, that was a local fur trader. Their company was granted a patent for inventing the original angle nose pliers, which is the standard design for pliers worldwide. During World War II, 1941, with steel being rationed and orders to fill, Wild Tool got a government contract to make bayonets for access to the steel, and they continued making pliers production. Then around 1943, they were notified that their contract would not be renewed. Then there was UFH, which was Union Fork and Hoe Company. They were out of Columbus, Ohio. UC, which was Utica Cutlery Company, out of Utica, New York. PAL, P-A-L, for Powell Blade and Tool Company, out of Plattsburgh, New York. AFH, American Fork and Hoe Company, out of Geneva, Ohio. And OL for Oneida Ltd., which is out of Oneida. The Oneida produce finely and well-made bayonets, and they are prized by collectors. And because of the Wild's low production numbers, they are hard to find and thus expensive. In 1943, it was decided to go with the M1 designated bayonets, and there is the new production and also the shortened M1905s to the new M1 size, along with their scabbards. After several companies dropped out from the shortening process, only American Fork and Hoe, along with the Union Fork and Hoe, continued shortening the M1905s to the M1 size. The scabbards had a body made of resin-impregnated duck canvas that was painted green with a metal throat and a wire hook hanger. There were 2 manufacturers of the scabbard, and they were Beckworth Manufacturing and Detroit Gasket and Manufacturing. This scabbard was made by the Beckworth Manufacturing. They each had similar but different styles of the U.S. flaming bomb. There were at least 3 makers of the Bakelite grips, AB for Auburn Button Works out of Auburn, New York, CPP, Columbus Plastic Company out of Columbus, Ohio, and then NOR, that was going vertical, and then horizontal was the LOC intersecting it, for Northern Laboratories out of Lockport, New York. So let's take a closer look at this one, and I'll show you what this one is. We got the scabbard here of the impregnated canvas that was painted green, and this is the flaming bomb logo for the Beckworth. And it had the metal throat through here with the wire hanger to hold on to the web belt. And it has these little hooks here. So when the bayonet is put into it, that locks it in place. To release it, that way. This is the 10-inch blade with the Bakelite grips. And this release button that also worked the release catch there also works the release catch from off of the bayonet mount lug. This one here has the maker's mark of AFH with the flaming bomb there. So real quickly, take this apart. Here's the interior of it, and you can see here the release spring is UC for Utica. The grips, they're marked with the AB for Auburn button. So that's the bayonet disassembled. And the difference that you can tell for the M1095, since they were longer, this came down farther, so then when they were shortened, this went off the edge of the point. And for the shortened scabbards, they had a different crimping style. So down through here is going to be more flush across there because of how they had to take this metal apart and then recrimp it after they shortened up the scabbard.